Good morning, everybody. Solomon Braun here at Carson Coffee Las Vegas, and look who I actually have here next to me, Peter Brock. It's actually pretty exciting to have him here come out, and so we'll ask him a few questions about a little bit about what actually brings you out to Carson Coffee, because someone like you being as busy as you have been.
Saul, this is like the best car show in the western part of the United States, and it's free every Saturday morning. It's an incredible place to come, and it's so eclectic because it's not just one type of car. I mean, we've got classics, we've got hot rods, we've got, sports cars, we've got high-end supercars, Lambos and everything. It's just fabulous, and every weekend it's different.
I'm really glad you said that, because that's exactly what we wanted to do at the beginning of this. It's been a little over 7 years that we've been doing this now, every Saturday morning. Of course, there are some times that we get away for a little bit of R&R and going to see some of the other shows. But tell me a little bit about what you've been up to lately.
Well, the past couple of weekends we've been doing a little bit of touring. I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements now for big concours shows and that sort of thing. So last weekend I was the Grand Marshal back at the Saratoga Concours in New York, and it was a fabulous show because it was all cars on the East Coast. I don't think any of them were west of Pennsylvania, and there's some incredible collections that cars you never see anyplace unless you go back to Hershey or someplace like that. So having a chance to travel around and see all these different collections is pretty good. And then the week before that, we were at Goodwood in the UK. Lord March puts on the #1 vintage event in the world, and this was the 50th year of the Daytona Cobra Coupes. So Lord March flew all 6 original Daytona Cobra Coupes in from all over the world. They came from Argentina, came from Japan, they came from Germany, and of course the 3 there in the United States. They were all flown in there. It's the very first time that all 6 Cobra Daytona Coupes were in one place.
I got to tell you, it's actually exciting that Shelby has actually, the Cobra is going back out to the Ford GT is going back to Le Mans next year.
Absolutely.
And even though I'm a little bit a big Porsche fan, I'm actually rooting for the Ford GT this coming up year, because it's been 50 years since they've been there.
That's right.
And so 50 years ago, were you involved in in that first GT40?
No, the interesting thing is at that time, the GT40 program had actually started a little bit before the Daytona Cobra program, and we were actually competitors. Even though Ford was backing Shelby at that time, we were kind of the second string backup team while the GT40 was being developed. But the thing is it took so long to develop the GT40 that the Shelby team got the Daytona Cobras going first and fastest, and then they finally moved the whole GT40 program over to Shelby's and cut the Cobra program off. So we were actually competitors for a while. But it was the same motor and the same crew later that they went on to win the 4 years at Le Mans.
Of course, you've had a little bit of through BRE and Datsun. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, after I quit working on the Shelby program, I was invited by Dr. Katayama to run the Datsun racing team in the United States, and we ran that for about 4 or 5 years and won many national championships and the Trans Am Championship. So we started with the 2000 Roadsters, then we went to the 240Zs, and of course then developed the 510 sedans to run against the Alfa Romeos and BMWs. And that was probably the high point of that series for those little cars. It was really a fabulous time.
The resurgence of all these classic cars, especially the racing classic cars, certainly Porsche has seen a big resurgence in some of the air-cooled market, and of course seeing the 240Zs and the 280Zs, as well as the Daytona Coupes. This must be an exciting time for you.
Well, that classic front engine era of those cars is so iconic. I mean, whether you look at Datsuns or whether you look at Porsches or whether you look at Daytona Cobras or the 151-3 Maserati is one of my favorite from that period. And of course the lightweight E-Type Jaguar, the 212 Aston Martins, all of the cars from that particular era are just beautiful, beautiful pieces of art, and they only made so few of them. So it was a very exciting period to see them. And now that they're all sort of returning, it's it's like a rolling art show. It's great.
I've seen some of the Aero Vault that you've been doing a little bit about them. I've seen them, many times at the tracks around the
Yep.
country. And this is something exciting because it's not often that you see a trailer that is functional but beautiful as well. Tell us a little bit about this project that you're working on.
Well, the Aerovault trailer is designed for the guys that have a really high-end race car, or a beautiful custom or a great classic car for the show. These are cars that you guys are transporting $1 million cars in, and you want something as efficient and as highly built quality to match the car. So that's what that market is for. And they're very, very efficient aerodynamically. When you tow them, instead of pushing a great big square box of wind, which pretty much limits you to about 50 or 60 miles an hour, otherwise the gas mileage goes way up. These are all aerodynamically formed, so they're very, very efficient. And you can tow, cross country. You can run 80, 85 all day long with them. They're wonderful.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. You've got lots of things going on between, speaking engagements and your involvement with the BRE and, of course, the AeroVault. How will people learn a little bit more about what you're doing, and is there a website or Facebook page or anything where they can follow you and learn a little bit more?
Well, the easy thing to do is just go to info@bre2.net, and that'll bring up our website. And then from there you can go off, whether you're interested in Cobras or AeroVault trailers or BRE Datsun history or stuff, you can find it out. Or just Google my name, Peter Brock, and you'll find all kinds of interesting stuff. A couple of books that I've done. I've done a recent book on the history of the development of the Corvette Stingray, which we did with Bill Mitchell back at GM, and that's really a fabulous story in itself, because if it hadn't been for Bill Mitchell, we wouldn't have Corvettes today. There was at one time the whole Corvette program was written off by GM, and Bill Mitchell decided that wasn't going to happen, and he built up this car in secret and changed management's mind on it, and we put it back in business again.
Wow.
So it was an amazing era.
Thank you very much for spending a little bit of your morning with us and sharing it with us.
This is such a great event. I come out here every weekend that I possibly can. It's so much fun. Thank you, Saul.
Thank you.
Great. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cars and Coffee Las Vegas, a car show by car enthusiasts for car enthusiasts.